Hey guys, Jenna here. Welcome to my channel where I take you on tours of tiny and unique homes. If you're involved in the tiny house movement, you may remember this viral story from a few years back where one owner's tiny home was stolen. Well, today we're traveling to the Pacific Northwest to meet that owner and take a tour of his second improved tiny home and learn some of his tips and tricks for protecting his new home. If you like these kind of videos, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know every single time I post a new video. All right guys, let's take a tour.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
Hi, I'm Lawrence, and this is my tiny house. I started out camping in a little teardrop camper. I had inspiration from a friend of mine who had built his first tiny house. I just made the jump one day, sold my teardrop camper, and bought the micro tiny house. And that was my tiny house before this one. So I'm fortunate now to say I have had two tiny houses. The micro tiny house that I had initially kind of was like my weekend getaway. I decided I wanted to change and come out to Washington. Unfortunately, had a terrible snowstorm come through while I was driving the tiny house, and I got stuck in a town called Hermiston, Oregon. I was stranded at a gas station, left it there with the permission of the owners, and unfortunately, the tiny house was stolen. Talk about devastating. I mean, my whole world was in there. A couple of months later, we were able to recover it and repair it. Bought the property here, ended up staying in the micro tiny house on the property for about 6 months before I purchased this tiny house. Now I have a security system. I have cameras that I monitor. I use a wheel boot, not to mention the tiny house is actually chained into the ground now, so good luck this time. So I've got two Weimaraners, two full-size dogs. Normally, it's not a problem if you don't mind an 80-pound dog running over your lap. I love them, they're my babies, so they can do whatever. They basically run the roost here. I am in a relationship, 23 years with my partner, Jason. He does not live with me full-time. The plan down the road is to have two tiny houses, one for me, one for him. It's what works for us. Might not work for everybody, but it works for me. As far as the property goes, I have 0.6 acres in the Pacific Northwest. There is septic that's already here on the property. I had to go through and put the power in myself. I actually am saving up to put a well in, but in the meantime, I actually use a rainwater catchment system. And when that doesn't work, then I'm fortunate enough to have neighbors that allow me to tap into their water and fill my water tanks. The tiny house was unfinished and I bought it from an individual and I got it for $17,000. Since then I put in, I would say $15,000 or so. The property itself was $49,500. I am fortunate to say I have 8 more months to go and my tiny house and land will be paid off in 3 years' time. It wasn't an easy feat. I have certainly spent a lot of hard work and time and money getting there, but I'm going to be debt-free this time next year. This tiny house is 28 feet long and 8 foot wide and 13.5 feet tall. And if you include both the lofts, that's about 354 square feet. I bought this tiny house and it was kind of a shell. I had to do a lot of work on the inside and some exterior work. I had to do some touch-up painting. It did come in this original blue color that you see in white trim. I did paint the door red. It's been said that if you paint your door red, your house is paid off, basically, you own it. I'm not quite there yet, but I will be there, so I painted the door red. Well, welcome to my tiny house. Let me show you a little around. So you'll see here, I've got my nice semi-comfortable couch. It turns also into a futon, which is helpful when you have extra people staying over. This is my little end table as well that I have, made out of wood, and it's just beautiful. Of course, I love wood, natural wood, and so I've tried to incorporate as much as I can throughout the tiny house. Initially, the tiny house was painted white, and white is great, but it wasn't quite for me. And so what we did is we decided to paint it black on the interior, and as you can see, it is remarkable. But I will say this, with black paint, everything shows up, so please be kind if you're watching. You'll find down here my library, as well as I have my electric fireplace, and then it moves on over into my laundry machine. And so this is a combo washer dryer. You know, there's pros and cons with it. You hear probably from many other people that they take a long time. It does, about 5-6 hours for a load. In this particular tiny house, I didn't have room for a separate dryer or even a stackable, so this is what I've got. Here's my television, and I think it's a 40-inch television. When I bought it, I unfortunately did not measure it like I should have. I thought it was going to fit here in the little nook, and it didn't. So I did have to cut into the stairs slightly. Now it slides in just perfectly where it should be. I've been fortunate to have surround sound as well, and it makes movie nights really fun. This is my dining nook. I basically sanded the wood myself and put a little shellac on there. And it's kind of my dining room slash, I don't know, meditation center, if you will. And it's a great place because I can sit out and look at the birds when they're out and doing their thing. Moving back further, you can see my little office area. Basically, when I got the house, it was kind of a shell, and I had to put in the kitchen as well as the bathroom. And so I put in the cabinets by myself, believe it or not. That was a feat all of its own. But getting these inside was not easy. But the rest of it was fairly easy. I got it in, leveled. Cutting the sink was a little difficult. I've kind of made some mistakes. I decided to use some of the rocks that I have down at Lawson Woods Beach, my little beach. And so these are pebbles from the beach to kind of cover up the fact that I didn't quite get it laid in properly. But don't tell anyone. The backsplash I did myself. It's not difficult as you might think. This is actually a peel and stick. It's real stone. The most difficult part, however, was the ends, and I kind of cheated and used the corks instead of finalizing it. But you know what, it works, so I'm leaving it for now. In order to find great storage space for my cooking utensils and items, I basically have utilized the walls themselves. So you can see I've got some of my copper pots here and pans. And then I mostly use Dutch oven. I love Dutch oven cooking and cast iron in general. And so these I use primarily most often. And they're just sitting on a little dowel rod that I put in there myself. This is my full-size range. It's a propane range and oven. I love to bake, especially in the winter time. It's kind of a passion of mine, or making stews or soups, and so I needed to have a nice kitchen, and a full-size stove was essential for me. And so this is my Whirlpool propane stove. For some of my heating and air conditioning needs, I've got this Comfort Air, and this works as a heater and dehumidifier as well as air conditioner. Over here, this is my water heater, and it's just a 4-gallon water heater. It is not on demand. I previously had another on-demand unit that was propane, and unfortunately it was causing too many issues inside for me. It was causing the carbon monoxide detector to go off. So I was fearful and decided I don't use a whole lot of water anyways, and that's what led me to go with the 4-gallon water heater. I have a great friend that's an artist back in Las Vegas, and her name is Mandy Joy, and she is the one that's actually done most of these little paintings that you see around. Of course, she does full-size paintings, but being a tiny house, I had to have tiny little paintings. As far as lighting goes, being that we did go with black walls, it was important to have a lot of lights. And so this is a little track system, and I think they're halogen bulbs. But so they work well, and I can also move them around. If I don't have enough light, one place or another, I can move it around, which is really helpful too. There are 13 windows in the tiny house total. In the summertime, you've got tons of light that comes through, and it's just magical. So I love it. Moving back here, this turns into the bathroom. You can see I'm not quite done. You're never really done with tiny houses, it seems. So I still have a wall to put in here. I'm gonna put in a wall here as well as the other side, and I'll have a sliding barn door. But in the meantime, I have these privacy curtains up. A little bit further back, you can see I have a flushing toilet and then my shower. I have created my own little shower curtain rod here, and just kind of open it up so you can see. And I use a low flow shower head in order to save and conserve water here at the property. So the square footage of the bathroom is actually 50 square feet, and in tiny house terms, that's a pretty big bathroom. Now I'm going to take you up to the loft. So here we are in the loft, and the loft itself is 80 square feet. I've managed to put in an actual king size bed, and so I'm quite comfortable even with a couple of dogs with me. Over on this side, if you look over here, this is my little ottoman where I keep some of my clothes. These are some of the clothes that I use regularly. I would say these are my everyday clothes. I also have a couple other storage areas. I have a little downstairs nook that I keep my hanging shirts. My other loft is part of storage for my other clothes that I'm not using, my other seasonal clothes. So in between seasons, I move things out where I need to use them. I tend to sleep with the lower side, which probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I like to watch TV in bed occasionally, so just being able to lay down and watch the television from bed is quite comfortable that way. I actually had to put the railing in here in the loft as well as going down the stairs in order to help me not fall, hopefully, was the idea. So some of the food storage that I use are mason jars. I use them for a variety of things like my beans, my lentils, some rice, chickpeas, things of that nature. So I'm actually using the ledge of the window for extra storage, and that's basically why I decided to use the mason jars there. I just thought it looked good and it works. All right, well, around the back side of the house, I do rainwater collection. I collect rain from the roof. It goes into this beautiful tank here. And in this tank, it is processed as well as runs through the line and comes up to another filter before it runs into the main house itself. One of the many projects I have to do here on the land is repairing this deck. So as you can see, she needs a little help, but the bones are good. We just need to redo the deck. So that'll be another project this summer. But in the meantime, it gives me a great place to barbecue, relax. I can see the ocean. It's just a great time. This is my garden. It's kind of dormant right now. It's winter here, but we're getting ready for spring. All right, well, let me take you in the back, and I've got a little campfire out here and some beautiful views of the Pacific Northwest. This is called Hammersley Inlet, and it's on South Puget Sound in Washington. I have beach access. I'm lucky to have 50 feet of waterfront property. My next phase of planning and development is for my partner. I'm probably going to build another tiny house or have one built, and that's kind of going to go in this area here, a little sideways, so he'll have views of the water. I don't know, I might be jealous. I might have to move into it instead, but we'll see. I would say somebody who's looking to go tiny really needs to consider what they want out of it and go for it. Don't hesitate, because if you hesitate, it's never going to happen. Just do it. Take the plunge. Don't be afraid and do it. It changed my life. First of all, I didn't think I was ever going to own a house, and to be debt-free in such a short time. I'm 45. I'm going to be debt-free before I'm 46 years old. I do think that I'll always live tiny. This was my forever house, getting this, and I plan on staying here for as long as I can.
Thanks for watching this week's video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you soon with another tiny or unique home tour.